Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome in here. So glad you're all here today. I am Matt from the Jane Websites team. Excited to introduce our brand new series called Clinic Spotlight, first of its kind. So, this is going to be a series where we learn directly from clinics, hear about their real experiences, understand how they're using Jane, how they're growing their clinics. It's going to be awesome. So, we'll just give it an extra second here as people come in through the waiting room. Lots of interest in this session, which is super exciting. Okay, so today we are going to be lucky to be joined in a moment here by Tricia from Arnica Counselling. She's been with Jane for a number of years now, and it's been really fun to watch her story, how she's grown her clinic. And so she'll be jumping on here in just a minute. She's going to be sharing what it's like been thinking, rethinking her website, SEO, all the things she's learned along the way, and what's working with her clinic today. It's going to be a good session for sure. So just a little bit of housekeeping as we have a few more people trickle in. Just a few quick notes to help you get the most out of our session today. If you have any questions, I want to make sure you drop those into the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. That's going to be the best way to make sure that we're getting to all your questions. Obviously, we love to see an active chat. So if you want to be chatting in there, leaving comments, that's awesome too. Just make sure you uh, adjust the chat setting to everyone. That way, everyone else will be able to see your chats there. While you're in there, though, while you're adjusting that setting, just introduce yourself. Let us know where you're tuning in from. One fun thing with these webinars is always getting to see where everyone's from. Like, there you go, London, England, tuning in. Awesome, Robin. Great to have you here. And if you can't stay for the full session, we always like you to know there's no worries about that. We'll be recording everything here, and you're going to get the replay to your inbox after the session. So if you miss anything or have to jump, it's no worries at all. And at the end of the session, we're also going to be sharing a quick poll. So if you can hang on for an extra minute after that, it helps us just improve these. We love making these sessions even better. The team put so much work into these to hopefully you get as much value as you can. And so we just want to make sure we're just improving these conversations and touching on topics that you want to see. This is awesome. Florida, BC, Ottawa, California. Very cool. Awesome. Well, welcome everyone. So, with that, here's what we're going to cover today. So, we're going to take a few minutes at the start just to meet our guest, get to know Tricia and what she's doing over at Arnica. We're going to find out where it all started, kind of why and how she got her clinic off the ground, what's working for her now. We'll do a bit of a deep dive into SEO. I know this is a topic everyone loves talking about. We know we can all be doing it better. So we'll get into some really tactical pieces there in terms of what you can do to help your clinic. And then we're also going to give some advice for new clinics. Tricia has an awesome story of how she grew from one practitioner to the number she has now. And then, of course, we'll take some time at the end for Q&A, which is always a valuable time, just to dive into some deep dive areas where you want to learn more. So before we get going here, I'd love to hear from you. And we're going to have a poll come up in a minute here. And I want to know which digital strategies you're using. Are you doing Google ads? Do you have Meta ads running? Is your website up? I hope your website's up. Are you using social media? Are you doing SEO ongoing? Just fill out those. It's really cool to see kind of what what pieces of the puzzle you're using, and then we'll take it from there. So with that, just a quick introduction here. Let's meet Tricia. I'm going to welcome her to the stage in a moment here from Arnica Counseling. Tricia is based in Prince George. Hi, Tricia. Welcome.
Oh, hello.
She is currently running a clinic of 6 rooms with 14 counselors and 2 admins on the team, helping with counseling for every member of the family. Founded back in November 2020, and using Jane right from the start, right out of the gate, and then joined our services at Jane Websites in the spring of 2024. And so, yeah, we're going to hear a little bit more about that story. So, Tricia, let's start from the beginning. We're going to rewind a little bit here. So, before you jumped in with Jane Websites and all the different marketing services, you were managing your own website, working with a web developer at the time. Do you want to just walk us through what that experience was like before you came and joined us?
Yes, for sure. Well, this was my first business ever, and obviously, so my first website. I contacted a web developer, told them what I sort of wanted, and I thought, okay, well, that's one and done. Your website is created. I did not understand that a website is a moving, breathing machine that must always be tweaked and worked on. And over time, I ended up having a lot of pain points where I wanted to change things on my website, but didn't know how to do it. WordPress was really, really complicated for me. I'm a creative person. I can do lots of things, but I'm not a web developer. And so I would be contacting the web developer and saying, I want to make all these changes, and then I get this invoice. And sometimes it was a bit of a surprise how much that invoice would be. It ended up being costly over time because I wanted to constantly change things. If I added new team members, if I added new services, if I renovated a room, anything that I wanted to change, I had to contact them. They had to do it. And sometimes like they weren't part of my field, so they didn't quite understand our language and it wasn't integrated with Jane. So I had to do everything twice. If I had did an update in my Jane booking, I had to then do it on my website and vice versa. So it was a lot of work back then, and it wasn't operating well at all.
Yeah, no, you nailed it. I think there's so many pain points we see regularly when people are kind of with a web developer who's maybe just a generalist and kind of has a system set up where they don't really have any specialty. They don't have any special sync set up with the system, and there's just so much pain. I mean, you kind of touched on that with extra costs, lack of industry knowledge, lack of syncing. So I think I don't have any no notes on that one because I think you've hit it all in that one spot of the kind of where some of the pain can come when you're working with kind of a system or platform that doesn't have any specialty when it comes to counseling. So let's shift a little bit to where things got to today. Now that you're using Jane websites, what feels different about your experience?
Everything is different. Everything is different. I now have control over my own site and I understand it. If I want to make a change on my site, I know exactly how it's built. If I want to change a graphic, if I want to change a service, I know how to do it because the platform is so easy. And if there's anything that I can't change, I have a list of people who are on the team at Gene Websites, and I can just say, "Oh, hey, Brooklyn, I'm struggling with this part of the page. Can you help me?" And she'll go in, change it. And I don't get an invoice for that. I can contact the team anytime with anything that I need. They answer that day and it's done. And I don't get an invoice later on. There's no surprises. That part I love the most because I'm constantly creatively tweaking things. And so if I had to wait and go, oh gosh, I think I want to make all these changes, but I want to save it up so that it's one big invoice. It wouldn't be working as well as it is. Um, I only have to do it once. If I change it in Jane, I know within 24 hours, it's on my website. If I change the bio of one of my team members or they add different services, like I don't have to do it twice.
Yeah, I love this. This is so funny because I think it was you and I on that first call back in a spring a couple years ago. And it is wild to think about how much this website has transformed over that time. Like so many more team members. So for those of you who don't know, part of the sync we built between Jane websites and your Jane EHR is that we actually, the minute you add a new staff member into your Jane app, we're going to sync that over right onto the website so that they show up immediately in all the different spots they need to. If you add a service into Jane, it's going to immediately pull it over. And so just some really nice benefits where, again, you kind of talked about that duplication of work and how much more it is. So I started scrolling while you were talking because I wanted everyone to see just how dynamic this website is. Like there are so many pieces here that weren't the same on day one. So again, you kind of talked about that idea that people have this set it and forget it mentality with their website, but they're actually missing out on this opportunity to continue to evolve that. And so there's so many benefits to keeping your website up to date, which essentially means it's a more trustworthy source of information for patients or potential patients looking to book with you because they know that the right information is going to be here. Whereas if the minute someone finds out that your website's out of date, they're like, I'm pretty sure I was referred to this counselor, but I came to the website and they're not there. Immediately in their mind, your website is no longer a reliable source of information and they need to call you. So you've just added a little bit by saving the workload of not updating your website, you actually ended up adding to your workload because now they're going to call you every time they have a question because they can't rely on your website for information there. So really fun to just like click through and realize how much this has grown over the years. But I would love to know kind of if you could talk about kind of the impact that this has had making these changes to your website.
Yeah, actually, in preparing for this, I went back and looked at my numbers. And from, of course, with the new business and also in a pandemic, from 2020 to 2024, I was seeing about 10, sometimes 5% growth year over year. My best growth was about 15% in overall clients year over year. And from 2024 to 2025, it was a 55% increase. And that was the year that I made all the changes. That was when I joined with Jane Websites, did the SEO and Social Plus. I made a lot of changes internally as well. I worked really hard on the business, but none of it would have been possible if I wasn't working on my Google ranking, my Jane booking page, and my website. And so I went from like number 8 in my Google ranking to like top spots in like the about 5 or 6 different search terms. Um, and so, and even in my intakes is actually even higher. The growth was 61% from 2024 to 2025. So it's been incredible.
I love it. I'm going to be honest, I'll never get tired of hearing this story because when you talk about the impact that these services had, like, so backstory for anyone who doesn't know me, I'm part of the founding team of what was originally Clinic Sites. And then a few months back, we actually officially switched to Jane Websites. But the whole goal of what we were trying to do was make it so that you didn't feel like you had to be a web developer and a social media creator and an SEO specialist. Because so often, when you're running your own clinic, you feel like you have to wear every single hat and become an expert in everything. And the reality is, you want to care for people or you want to grow your business, but you don't want to be sitting there at 11 o'clock at night trying to figure out what keyword you're supposed to put into the metadata. Like, what is happening here? And so I feel like, everything we've tried to do on our team is to try to make it so that these things feel like they're just getting done for you and you're not having to go in and make every little change and take all those extra hours where you'd rather be spending time with friends or family or relaxing after a day at the clinic. And so I'll never get tired of this story, Tricia. We'll probably have you on 10 more times over over the years because I it's so good. So I'm curious to know, what is it that, how do you know that this is all working? So obviously there's lots of different places we get referrals from. We have happy patients. We have other networks we're part of. How do you know that all of these digital efforts are working for you? Because that's something that can often feel a bit obscure to people. Is, I'm doing lots of things, I'm spending money, I'm taking my time, but how do I know that the right levers are actually bringing me new patients?
Well, initially it was how quickly a new practitioner would get full. Like that was when I started to go, oh, something's different here. Because SEO takes time, and it was about a year, 18 months of this like slow moving growth before I went, oh, okay, something is like really happening. And it was, I would hire somebody and I would say, okay, so it's going to take about 6 months for us to fill a full schedule. It's going to take some time. We got to do some marketing. And within 6 weeks, she was full. And I went, whoa, what's happening? Like, what's going on? This is not the way it used to be. Um, and so, and then, the phone would be ringing more, and we just get more and more inquiries. And then I started looking at metrics really, really closely, really tracking them. And I noticed that over half of our sessions are booked online. And so something's going well with the integration between Google, Jane, and our website. Something's working really well because if over half of all these sessions are booked online, this isn't a leaky part of the bucket. And then the other part that I noticed was that when I look at my marketing data, like when you ask a client, like, how did you hear about us? Over half is Google. So it's working.
Yeah, it's incredible. No, it's so funny that so often people will say, like, well, I don't really know how they found us or whatever, but we all know personally that when we're looking for a local service, it's the first place we're starting our search 9 times out of 10. Of course, there's lots of other places it happens, but it's so common that it just makes a lot of sense. So I think we should dive a little bit more into kind of what it's meant for us to kind of work on some SEO pieces here for you, because I really feel like this is one of those major areas where when the team jumped in and started helping you create some really customized content for some targeted keywords, we started to see those impacts in how you're ranking throughout all these different search terms. And again, because it's sometimes people will Google your own name and you're like, oh, I'm showing up first, perfect, but that's the one we're all going to rank number 1 for. It's actually those other terms, whether it be the general discipline in your area or actually really specific targeted keywords. And we'll look at some of those in a minute that actually make a big impact. So, do you want to talk a little bit about what that process was like working with our team to kind of identify what those opportunities were?
Oh yeah, absolutely. This is the thing that I love about Jane and I love about Jane websites is the team behind it. Because you can call Jane anytime and talk to somebody for as long as you need to and get the support you need. It's like real human. It's the same with Jane websites. I have the personal email, well, not personal, but like I have their company email and I'll be like, hey, Gabe, I have this question. And they answer me right away. I have an example actually of where I was thinking SEO. But as a therapist, I wanted to make a change with the name of one of our services because we were offering couples counseling. And one of my therapists came to me and said, you know what? Like, I actually see a lot of people that aren't couples. I see um, co-parents coming together, separated couples. I'm seeing work mates coming together and wanting to do relationship counseling. Can we change the name of my sessions? And I went, how's that going to show up in SEO if I change a keyword that drastically on my website and my Jane booking page? What is that going to do? Before I would have had no idea. And so I just emailed Gabe. Hey, Gabe, what do you think about this? He goes into the back end, does some looking around, and he goes, you know what? I think it's going to be okay. Go ahead and make the change, and we'll check back in a couple of weeks and see where it's at. And we made the change, and it went well.
Yeah.
And without having that contact of like, hey, what's this keyword going to do? I would have made the change and had no idea if it made a difference.
Right. No, I love it. And it's really funny too, because you actually just spoke to another kind of core hope we had in doing this was that our team could actually feel like an extension of yours, that we know you're not going to have to call us every day. We know we're
Yep.
not sitting directly in your office, but in that moment when you need something, in that moment where you have an idea, that's where we want you to feel like our team is actually an extension of yours there. And I know Jane, on the EHR side feels the exact same way, that we want to feel like we're here to support you, like you're not in it alone. And so just to kind of deep dive for one moment here, I want to show kind of what we did with a couple different pieces. So we've looked at Tricia's website, but what we didn't look at was some of these deeper pieces here. So this is a page that our team specifically created to show up well for anxiety therapy in Prince George. So again, that's Tricia and our team kind of identifying what some unique opportunities are. And so we built a completely focused page for her on anxiety therapy. So if someone's looking for that specific problem, and so created this page for her. And just a few months later, what we found is that if you search anxiety therapy in Prince George, so we got some sponsored ads at the top, which we'll talk in a minute about Google Ads. But then down through here, you can see she's the first organic result in the map pack here because they're identifying that the website mentions counseling in Prince George and anxiety. And then if I scroll down, it's actually the first organic result. So number one placement. So if someone's looking for that, there's every opportunity that someone's going to see, wow, that's obviously the one that's been identified as the biggest, the leading authority kind of in this search. And so really exciting to just see that impact. And I think that was literally the first one I pulled up as an example. I think there's probably many more of those because as we've gone through, the team actually month over month is working with Tricia to identify more and more targeted terms. And so there's these other ones here, child counseling in Prince George, online couples therapy. So there's a unique thing here of Tricia identifying what she's specializing in or where maybe she has an opportunity to grow. And it's also our team identifying, hey, there's a keyword here that is getting searched and no one is really ranking well for it. There's actually a pretty good opportunity for us to show up. And so when those two come together, all of a sudden we start seeing you show up near the top of different results. That's really cool. I also just really quickly, we mentioned Social Plus. We're not deep diving in here today, but when you did join SEO, you also joined our social effort. And so I just want to highlight that our team does help Arnica with their social media posts. Really what the Social Plus team does is make sure that your social media account is always active because you do a great job, Tricia, of getting some reels and videos up there. But there's always times where you can get busy, right? And all of a sudden, like you're maybe not posting for a few weeks or maybe a few months, or some of us on here, maybe not a couple of years. And so, but what our team's going to do is make sure that every week fresh content is being posted up into your account. And so making sure that it always feels fresh. We're going to also kind of follow those same keyword principles, making sure those are showing up. A big change here from a technology standpoint is that search engines are now reading all of these posts to identify kind of what your total online picture is. So if you're connecting these dots where your social media is also speaking to what your website is speaking to. Maybe you're in some other online forums and things like that. It's all going to come together to create this online reputation. And so, anyways, I just wanted to give a quick shout out to the Social Plus team because they do an amazing job of getting that going. But like I said, we're going to deep dive SEO a little bit more here. So looking at that, you mentioned kind of the changes that always are happening amidst your clinic, that you're growing, you're evolving, you're finding new opportunities. I want to just maybe sit on a couple key pieces here. You mentioned wanting to rename one of your services. What prompted that change and how did you go about that? Because I think this actually highlights a really good value in some of the sync pieces that actually happen throughout.
Well, what it starts with generally is like I notice something in the clinic that I go, oh, wait a minute, is that working really well? Because the whole purpose of everything we're talking about is so like SEO, the website, everything is so that a client out there, a potential client out there who's feeling a pain, they're struggling with something, they can find the right person. They can find the service that they're looking for. And so with the couples counseling example, the therapist that was working with the relation people who are in relationship was noticing that they would contact her and say like, "Oh, but we're not actually a couple. Is it okay? Like, is this the same service? Do you still help us?" And she realized like, "Oh, wait a minute, maybe we're not reaching everybody that we could." So then I noticed, okay, well, maybe the clients aren't actually finding us when we actually could help them. So then I went to Gabe and said, "Hey, what do you think about doing this?" He went in the back end and looked. Then we made the change. We made the change happened in the Jane booking. So I created new sessions. No, actually, no, I edited the current sessions from couples counseling to relationship counseling. Very simply made it in Jane. And then immediately it's on my website. And then Gabe said, everything's looking good. So let's just leave it the way it is.
Yeah, incredible. So you can kind of see here, we have a little graphic showing that you changed it in Jane. It updates on the website. It's then going to start showing up with that new terminology on Google. And then right away, when you start showing up in Google, then we have that. Actually, there's a great, we won't, again, deep dive it today, but there's actually a great book online tool that Jane makes available where people can book directly from your Google business profile. So it's really fun watching these pieces that traditionally have maybe felt so disconnected. I have my EHR over there, I've got my website over there, I've got my SEO person over here, and really they're actually so tightly connected that what we're really trying to solve for here is that these shouldn't be all different worlds where you chat with everyone separately and try to have different plans with everyone. They're actually all so tightly connected. And so it's very fun on our side to get to watch these pieces all really start to come together. Okay, you already answered that. I had another question for you about working with Gabe, but you're jumping through everything. This is awesome. Um, there's an interesting thing when it comes to SEO that I think people wrestle with sometimes, which is there's the words that, we maybe understand from a metric standpoint could be most beneficial to go after. But when it comes to working with real people, we also want to make sure that it's words they understand. How do you balance kind of that nature of writing for real people while also thinking about search visibility at the same time?
Well, that again is a collaboration I do with the team. So they might send me something and say, "Hey, these keywords are ranking really high. What do you think about this back end page that we want to create for you?" Or even this social media post that, I go through every single word and it has to sound like my voice. It has to sound like my team. And if it doesn't, we change it. And it has to be something that's readable, that is something that a client at any level could understand. We don't want to speak too much therapy speak. We want to make it so it's easily understandable, but also have some of those terms that other people are searching for. So people might say, "I want IFS, I want Gottman therapy, emotion focused therapy." So some of that stuff is in there as well, but we have to balance it.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't sound like me, it doesn't get posted.
Yeah, exactly. No, and I think you nailed it by saying that there's just such a balance with it. And I also think the other nice thing too is there's not a limit to how many pages you can have on your website. So there's always an opportunity here to continue to build. We want to speak to the people who maybe understand technical, but we also got to speak to the people who don't know those terms, who just know the symptoms they're dealing with or the specific crisis they're in or whatever it would be. And so I just love that idea that you can kind of meet those two in the middle to say which one is going to bring us the most opportunity today. And then we can always build the other one tomorrow too. So you can kind kind of really keep going both end. Awesome. Okay, so let's dive to what advice. This has been so neat to hear your story because I hope what everyone's feeling is really inspired. That like, wait a minute, this stuff all can make such a difference for me. There's so much opportunity here, but I want to get really practical and just advice that you might have for other clinics. There might be folks here who are just getting started with Jane, or maybe they're just getting a new website going or early in the SEO journey. If you were offering advice to another clinic owner, where would you start? What would you say?
Mm, well, buckle up. No. I would say that and you've covered it, Matt, that all of these pieces work best when they work together. And so if you are just at the stage where you're building your Jane, you're in your EHR, you're just building Jane. Your online booking page is really, really important. Before you even have a website, if the words on it are hard to understand or the way you have it laid out, they don't know where they start, having that optimized is really, really helpful. So that, and pretend you're a client. Go through it yourself. I do that often, and my admin does it too. We just take the customer journey. What is it like if I click book now? What happens? Does everything flow? So start there. Have Jane working really, really well. And then you have your website, and your website can be super simple as long as somebody who is coming with a problem can have it answered at your website. And then we talk about, okay, how do we rank in Google? What is it? Is your Google My Business page optimized? Have you looked through that? Are all your services on there? Do you have a Jane booking link right in your Google? There's lots of ways that the Jane team and the Jane websites team can help you connect all these dots that, you know what, honestly, as a therapist, I never understand. I'm learning a lot more for sure, but there's a lot that goes way over my head. That's not what I went to grad school for. Just lean on the professionals, lean on them and ask the questions. Just keep working.
Yeah, one of my favorite things to think about here is when it comes to the online experience, too often we just maybe like trust that by building it, they will come and that they will able to walk through the whole experience. But it's kind of a neat analogy here that if you were to have your clinic, your physical clinic, and someone walked in and slipped on the floor and hurt themselves and had to leave because they were injured, you'd be like, oh my goodness, the floor is slippery. We need to deal with that. When someone walks through the front door of your website and can't find the online booking link or can't find the right information they're looking for or can't find your bios because they're trying to understand if you really understand their issue or help them in that specific way, then all of a sudden they leave and you never even know why or that they were interested or how many people you might have a bunch of people leaving your website just disappointed and that they couldn't find the right information. And so I love your point about doing it as if you were the potential patient, but also pull someone in because you kind of know, right? You might know where that online booking link is, so it's not really a real test. But pull in your mom, pull in your grandma, get them to come and say, "What can you try booking on my website?" And don't take them to your website. Start from Google. See what they type in because that's where you're going to learn so much. They're going to type in something and you're like, what? That was your search? Like, I'm ranking really well for this. I didn't even think to rank for that. And so it's going to give you so much insight. So, I mean, I said one person, but maybe do a number of people because they're all going to have different perspectives on what they type in. So I love that idea of just like, put those pieces together because you want to make sure they can get from A to Z in the whole process and make sure they can complete that whole booking experience. So, yeah, one other question I have, we're going to get to Q&A in just a second here, but one other question I have is you've talked before about how SEO takes time. Do you want to talk a little bit more about kind of understanding that like investment piece of it, of that these changes can be made overnight, but the impact actually can take a little bit longer? How have you seen that play out?
Yeah, I actually noticed that like the team does a lot in the background, but when you have a Jane website, you have a lot of control over what it looks like. And so if you really want to optimize your site, you are going to have to put some work in as well. And so over time, I would say, okay, I want to build this page on child therapy. I hired a new child therapist and I now have four, and I wanted to really build that service page. And so I asked the team, like, what keywords should I have in there? And I built it. And I'm not a web developer. I built those pages myself based on the advice from the team. And after I started to do this more and more and more, and like build up the entire site, have really good keywords all over the place. They're working in the back end, adding pages. I just slowly started to see more traffic in the clinic. And I would ask people, "Oh, how'd you find us? How'd you hear of us?" "Oh, it was Google. I just did a Google search." Or I booked directly with Google into the Jane site. So yeah, over time, it just started getting more and more traction. And for a while, as you're building this and you're just trying to make it look great and you want everything to work, and you don't want to have a leaky bucket anywhere and you have no idea if it's helping, you just keep going and keep building, and it will slowly start to work.
Yeah, I love that. No, and the one piece I'll add to that, I guess we touched on this a little bit earlier, but is the idea that let's just say you're opening a chiropractic clinic in downtown Toronto. The reality is that sometimes you're coming into a market there that's been people for 25 years have been building into that SEO. They've been investing tens of thousands of dollars a year. So it's unlikely that you're going to show up in certain markets and just be there on day one. But what the really cool opportunity here is with some of the tools we have on our side is to be able to help you assess that there might be unique opportunities. Maybe there's neighborhoods that are underserved in that area, or maybe there's specific services that you are coming out of school with the ability to do that actually is quite leading and innovative, and other people aren't doing it. So let's target those specific keywords right now. We're obviously going to go after the big ones. The whole goal with everything we're doing is to try to get you to number one for everything, but we can actually target some really short-term wins for you that might help get clinics coming in the door even earlier. And so it's fun to watch. We actually just put together a case study this week on a someone who within 3 months went from ranking midway through page two to already they're on the middle of page one for a really core search in their area. And 3 months impact is wild to see it that fast. So it can happen at all different rates, but we really try and help you find those unique opportunities. Okay, I should stop talking because we're kind of supposed to get to some Q&A here. So just a reminder, drop your questions into the Q&A section of the webinar. That's where we're going to be working through there. We just try within the chat, they can kind of get pulled up, so we don't want to miss anything. So drop your questions into the Q&A, and they can be for Tricia with her experience at Arnica. I'm happy to answer any questions around what we do on the Jane website's SEO and social side. So if you do need to jump off now, I know we're at 10:30 here. No worries. Again, the session today is recorded, and we'll email you all the replay afterwards. And then there's also a QR code on the slide. I know some of you who have been asking in the chat to connect with our team on the Jane website side. There's a link right there to book a time with us. We'd love to chat it over with you, see if there's a great opportunity here to help you in the same way we've been able to help Tricia. And so with that, let's jump into our questions here. So I'm going to start with a question from Kate. She says, for lots of us, we are okay with WordPress and other website tech. The problem is tracking conversion rates, as Jane doesn't support the right interfaces to go from search to bookings, or has it changed? I will say that in the past on this one, this is a little bit of a technical question, so this might be hard to answer the full thing here. In the past, there had been a privacy issue where Google Tag Manager was actually taking too much information. It was absorbing some of the private patient data in that experience, or just exposing it to Google Tag Manager. I know that the team is working on an active fix for that right now, so that you can use Google Tag Manager to be able to track those conversions, so that if you're running Google ads or Meta ads, or even from your website, that you can actually get those conversions in. So I think there'll be some great updates coming. I know the team is actively working on that right now. Um, Let's go to a question from Barbara. She says, Tricia, how much time do you spend a day or a week building, changing, updating your website?
Oh, right now, like in the beginning, it was a lot of work when I went from moving from WordPress over to Jane websites. It was functioning right away, but to build the back end of like each page and get it moving and working was a lot in the beginning. But I had so much support from the team. Now I barely touch my website. Once you have the foundation on there, because most of the updates come from the Jane integration. So if I add a practitioner, if I add a new service, most of it is going to come over from Jane anyway. Um, but if let's say I wanted to add more information to like our child therapy section, it would probably be a half an hour a week now unless I wanted to completely revamp something, change all the images and change all the copy on there, which would probably take me a few hours. I don't unless I'm really changing, I don't do that.
Okay. Love that. Okay, Sam's got a really good question here. This one might be for both of us. Our clinic does not offer online booking currently. Will this impact how useful a Jane website can be, or even I'm going to add to that, my website as a whole?
You want me to answer that?
I think we both can, because I think there's kind of two different perspectives on here.
Well, I
If
can't. I would say that everybody has different reasons why they would or would not have online booking. And it does sometimes there are pain points with online booking, but over half of my business comes from it. So I 100% recommend it if you can. But if you can't, maybe you can answer that, Matt, about whether or not a Jane website would be helpful.
Yeah, so I will say that we do help a lot of clinics that don't have Jane, and so it's not a requirement at all for our platform. If for any reason you've decided that it's not the right fit for you, we still can absolutely help you. But I would just want to put out there that not doing online booking just has such a serious impact on conversion. And I just had a great call a couple weeks ago with a counselor who just hadn't made the jump yet, maybe felt like it was too technical to get into. But we actually saw that their website was getting great traffic, but at the end of the day was a contact form to fill out. And so that I can only imagine how much that dropped their conversion rate. And we're going to see it because they're about to sign up with Jane now to get online booking set up. So we'll actually see the impact it has because he's like, no one's booking with me. I don't understand. Like I've had my website up for all this time and I can't do it. But the reality is that we are becoming so used to being able to do everything online at 10 o'clock at night in our pajamas. We want to be able to complete that. I don't want to send an email asking when your next available time is if the next website over is going to let me book in for 11 o'clock tomorrow morning. And so it has such a significant impact. Now, obviously, I think you spoke to some great points there, Tricia, about that sometimes it's not the best fit for everyone. And so you actually, in that case, maybe want to find an online booking platform like Jane that can help you kind of really customize what's available. I don't want people booking when I don't want them booking. And so we want to make sure you have a platform that can let you do that. And so Jane's amazing for that.
Yeah,
But
can I just add one thing to that, Matt?
yeah,
In my field in mental health counseling, most first sessions are booked after 7 p.m. So
there you
you're
go.
not open. They have to wait till the next day, and they want help now. They want to know that they have an appointment booked. So keep that in mind as well.
Definitely. And I would say that if you're kind of answering the phones 9 to 5, it's when a lot of people are working too. So they're not able to maybe call them when they're at work or it's harder for them to remember. We had someone ask if you write your own blogs, because I did kind of highlight your blog there. How does that work?
Um, so yes and no. Some of the blogs I write myself, and some of it was from the clinic sites team. So initially, when I was doing Social Plus and SEO, in the beginning when I started, a monthly blog post was part of that service. But having a blog is really, really helpful in your SEO, and you can use it in your social media. You can use it for all sorts of things. But I direct that, and the team helps me. If I say, "Hey, I want to write about this. There's this thing going on in the clinic. What do you think about this?" That they will say, "Oh yeah, this is ranking really high. Make sure you include XYZ." And then we just build it together. It's always done in tandem.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, so many good questions coming in. We'll try to get to as many as we can here, but there's actually two other ones I just really want to highlight. That's great. We're gonna start with one from Sasha. She says, "Hi Matt, hi Tricia. I'm a brand new practitioner, 1.5 months into practicing with zero marketing, but I do see between 0 to 3 patients a week, depending. I only own my domain at this point. What should I focus on right now? Website creation is my guess. What do you think?"
Yeah, so your Jane booking for sure. Make sure you have a really like seamless Jane booking and your website. Your website is foundational to everything.
Yeah, I'll piggyback on that, and definitely with the booking, if you're taking patients now, get that set up right away. With your website, one of the biggest things is that duration is actually a factor that Google looks at when it's deciding how to rank you. And so if you decide to wait to the last possible minute to launch your website, sometimes people say, "Oh, I'll just do this for now and I'll wait 6 months to launch my website." You're just missing out on 6 months of Google picking you up, building other links to your website, just seeing that you're there, because what everyone sees when they keep their website online and up to date is that you just slowly, gradually climb through the rankings. And so you don't want to miss out on that opportunity now. Even getting a basic website up to start is better than having no website at all. So highly recommend that. Okay, one other great question here I wanted to make sure we get to. As a solo practitioner with a vision of expanding into a multi-practitioner practice, what suggestions would you recommend?
Oh gosh. Honestly, if you can do it, coaching is amazing. I got some business coaching on going from solo to group, and it helped me figure out the systems I needed, all of the technical stuff that I needed, contracts, forms, everything like that. Coaching was really, really helpful for me, and finding other group practice owners and just create a community of people. In my community, there's probably 4 or 5 of us that are female entrepreneurs that own clinics, and we collaborate. We talk with each other. We support each other. We refer to each other because there's an abundance of opportunity. We can all be successful. So find your people.
I love it. It's great. Okay, well, that feels like a great note to close on, even though I'd wish we could just sit here for the next 20 minutes and keep answering questions. But I will say, if there's kind of questions you still want to ask, if you haven't joined the Jane community yet, it's a great place to do it. I'm going to try to spend some time in there later today. So if you had more questions, we'll dive back in and we can answer some questions there. Also, there's that QR code. I'll throw that up on the screen one last time here. If you want to meet with our team, we'd be happy to walk you through some of these specific questions. But I think that is everything for us today. Tricia, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. It's been awesome just hearing your story and getting your insight. And hopefully, everyone that jumped on today found a lot of value, but I have no doubt that they did. And thank you to all for joining us. It's been awesome. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Matt. Thank you, everybody.
All right, take care.